Good evening, 4-3. Tonight we're going to be doing multiplication and division unit. We're going to be starting with our Module 3. With Lesson 1, we're going to be investigate and use the formulas for area and perimeter of rectangles. Okay, so here we have two rectangles, and over here on this one we see that we have 8 units. Each one of these boxes here, we're going to have 8 units on this side and 5 going across this side, so 5 units over here. So that one has a measurement of 5 by 8, and then over here on this side of the page we've got one that's basically unstandard units. So we're going to call this side the width and this side the length. So if we do the 8 by 5 rectangle and we want to find the perimeter, we would use P equals 8 plus 5 plus 8 plus 5. That basically means that we're starting here and we're walking up 8 on this side, 5 across, down 8, and back 5 across. So what we should do is we should put a 5 up here and an 8 on this side, because this side is equal to this side and this side is equal to the top side. So what would that look like with our unstandard side over here? Well, we'd have P equals, so if we're walking up this way, that would be the W plus the length, going across with the length, and then on this side, we're going down the W and over back to the length. So this would be width plus length plus width plus length. So basically we walked up the W, we walked across the L, we walked down the W, and then we walked across back to the L. Okay, one way of writing this up would be P equals, now if we look at this, we see that we have 1 8 over here and another 8 over here. So we have 2 8s. We have 1 5 up here and we have another 5 down here. So we have 2 5s. So we could write this, because we have 2 8s, 2 times 8 plus 2 times 5. And why do we have that? Because we have 2 8s. So we're multiplying by 2. Why do we have 2 times 5? Because we have 2 5s. Now 4-3, I want to show you something. Over here you see these dots. That's going to stand for multiplication. It's not just using those X's to show multiplication. We can also show the dots. Dots represent multiplication too. So what is that going to look like on an unstandard side? Well, let me just erase this. We have got P equals, how many W's do we have? We have 2 W's. So we would write 2 times W plus, how many lengths do we have? We have 2 lengths. So that would look like 2 times L. All right, the next formula that we could use, and this is the one that this lesson really wants you to focus on, would be that over here, we've got one side that is 8, and we have another side that is 5. So if you notice, over here, it's the same thing. We've got an 8 on this side and a 5 on this side. So we could actually have our formula look like this. P equals 2 times, remember the dot can mean multiplication, 8 plus 5. Because, boys and girls, we have 2 sets of these 8 and 5 and 8 and 5. So we could say 8 plus 5, but then we would have to add again another 8 plus 5 because we have two sets. So another way of doing that would be P equals 2 times 8 plus 5. All right, so what is it going to look like on the other standard side over here on the right? Well, we're going to have P, for P is the perimeter. And over here, since we did 8 going up, we're going to do the W on this side. And then we also have the 5, and then we have the L. And again, since we have two sets, W plus L and W plus the L, we're going to do 2 times W plus L. Okay, 4-3, over here, P equals 2 times W, the width, plus the length. This is the formula that we want to remember for this lesson. But you know, if you are comfortable using any other way, any other method, that is fine, just as long as you understand how to find the perimeter and what perimeter is. To find the area, so let's put our A equals, we need to see, and an area is all these little boxes inside of the rectangle. That would give us the area. It's all those little boxes inside. So if we multiplied all of those, all these little squares inside, this would be A area equals 5 times 8. And then if we did it over here, A equals length times width. And this is the formula that we are going to focus on when we figure out area. Over here, A equals 40 square units. Oops, excuse me. 40 square units. Oops. Excellent. So boys and girls, we have two very important formulas that we have to remember. We have the area formula, which is A equals length times width. And then we also have the perimeter, which is P equals 2 times the length plus the width. These are the formulas that we need to remember when we're doing area and perimeter. All right, with letter A, the direction says to determine the perimeter and area of each triangle. So, in order to do the perimeter, let's get our P equals, and remember that important formula, 2 times the length plus the width. And when we're doing the perimeter, remember we're going around this side, and then this side. And remember, what's on this side is going to match on this side. So this side is 7 centimeters. And then the width over here is 3 centimeters. So now all we need to do is just really plug in the L and the W. So let's bring it down. P equals 2 times, what's the length? 7. And what's the width? 3. And then we continue. P 2 times, and what's inside the parentheses? It's a 10. And then we can just finish it up now. 2 times 10 is 20 centimeters. So the perimeter of this rectangle, if we walked all the way around this perimeter of this rectangle, it would be 20 centimeters. Okay, boys and girls, the next one we're going to be looking at is the area now of this rectangle. Again, over here, we need to remember our formula. A equals length times width. So over here is our length, and over here is our width. So we're just going to kind of plug those in. Area, and remember the area is all the boxes that are inside that are inside the rectangle, all those square units. So A equals the length, which is 7, times the width, which is the 3. So we have A, area, equals 21, and we're talking about centimeters squared, because we're talking about the squared units. So A, area, equals 21 centimeters squared. Our next rectangle is 4 centimeters and 9 centimeters. And we're going to be first looking at perimeter. So let's get our formula down for perimeter. P equals 2 times the length plus the width. And we have to fill in these what the length is and what the width is. Remember, perimeters are walking all the way around this rectangle. And the length over here is 9 and the width over here is 4. So we're going to have 2 sets of that. That's why we have 2 times, because we have 2 9s, because there's a 9 over here, and then we have 2 4s. So P equals 2 times the length. The length is a 9, and the width is a 4. Because we have 2 sets of 9 plus 4, we have one over on this side, and then we have one over here. Now we bring down P equals 2 times, well, what is 9 plus 4? 9 plus 4 is 13. So we have 2 times 13. P equals 26 centimeters. So perimeter of this rectangle is 26 centimeters. All right, now we're going to continue looking at the area of this rectangle. And I'm going to write over here. A, what's our formula for area? A equals length times the width. And remember, the area is all those square units that are inside of the rectangle. And if we were going to put this in, we have to look at the length, which is 9. So A equals the length, which is the 9, times the width, which is up here, which is the 4. So A equals 9 times 4 is 36 centimeters squared, because these are squared units. So the area is equal to 36 centimeters squared. All right, now we're getting to some big numbers here, and we're going to find the perimeter. Now remember, what is that formula that we had to remember? It's P. P equals 2 times the length plus the width. If we look over here, here is the length we're going across. Perimeter is we walk around the rectangle. And then we're going down to the width, which is 76. Then we go across again, which is 149 meters. And then we go up another 76 meters. So what we need to do is fill in what the length and the width is. So P equals 2 times the length, which is 149, plus the width, which is 76. All right, so now we need to just add what's in the parentheses. P equals 2 times 149 plus 76 is 225. And we're multiplying this by 2. P equals 450 meters. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 450 meters. All right, so this one looks a little different, because if you notice, there's an X here. And an X means a variable. And that means that letter, when we have an X or a Y or a Z or any letter in math, that just means that we do not know the number. The number is unknown, and we call that a variable. We do know that the perimeter is 1,000. So that means if we were to take this side and add it to this side, this would equal 500. So we would have to do the same thing on the other side. So that means that this side over here would be equal to 500 also, which would mean it's 1,000. So this side, 150 plus what number is going to give us 500? And when we do the same on the other side, it's going to give us 500. Well, we need to set it up with our formula. P equals 2 times the length plus the width. And we know what the perimeter is already. It's 1,000. So 1,000, the perimeter is, equals 2 times, we do not know the length, and that's going to be x. We do know the width, and that's going to be 150. Now, if we just focused on just half of that side, just the half of that 500, we can just do this. 500 equals x plus 150, because we're only focusing on one side. We're not focusing on this side yet. So now we actually have to say, all right, well, what would be x? X plus 150. What plus 150 is going to give me 500? Now, if we subtracted, because remember, we can find that missing number. If they give us a total, we have to find the missing number. We're going to subtract. So 500 take away 150 leaves us with 350. So x is equal to 350. All right, guys, this next problem is a little bit different because there are missing sides here and here. We don't have any measurements for the length and the width. So, but they did give us the area and they did give us the perimeter. So we have to find out the length and the width. We have to find out those missing sides. And the best that we can do is by actually creating a table that will help us figure out what would be the exact measurements on those sides. So let's think about all the different ways that we can multiply to get the area of 36 meters squared. Well, we've got, so let's remember our multiplication facts. We have 1 times 36. We have 2 times 18 gives us 36 meters squared. We have 3 times 12 gives us 36 meters squared. This is why knowing our multiplication facts is so important. We've got what I call the 4th grade favorite. 4 times 9 is 36 meters squared. And we have the last one, 6 times 6 equals 36 meters squared. So there are 5 different possibilities that we can choose from that would give us the length and the width of those two measurements. But how we're going to do that is that we first need to find what the perimeter is, and the perimeter is 30 meters. So around this whole thing equals 30 meters, but it also has to equal the area of 36 meters squared. So we have to have both of those totals correct, so our measurements have to be exact. So in order to do that, we need to actually have our formula. Now, remember our formula is P equals 2 times the length plus the width. And if we take the first one, let me just change my color here. If we put in this first one right here, 2 times 1 times 36, we will have 1 plus 36 times 2 would be 74 meters. Now that's just not going to work because we need 30 meters. We try the next one. 2 plus 18 would give us 20 times the 2 would give us 40. Now that's just not going to work either, because it has to be, the perimeter has to be 30. All right, and let's continue. The next one is, let me get rid of this so I don't get confused. The next one is 2 times 3 plus 12. And 2 times 3 plus 12, we got 15. And this is equal to 30. Whoop, there it is. 30 meters. We are done. We found the measurements. We have got a length and a width of 3 and 12. So the width is 12 meters and the length is 3 meters. And how did we do that? Well, we just created a list of different possibilities, and we had to examine which one of those tries would equal the area of 36 squared meters and a perimeter of 30 meters. Okay, guys, now you give it a try. See how well you can do this. You need to determine the perimeter and the area of rectangles A and B. And remember, when we're doing this, you're going to count how many are on each side to figure out what is the width and what is the length. For letter A, you are figuring out the area. And for rectangle B, you are figuring out the perimeter. See if you can find the area of letter A and the perimeter of B. Next one, what is the perimeter and the area of this rectangle? Now this one's going to be tricky because this is a square. And what do we know about a square? A square has 4 equal sides. So if one side is 5, what does it say for the other? Find the missing side. Find the width, which is the variable x. Solve for x. Next problem, they gave us the perimeter. There's the perimeter. So this side is 40, and we're going to continue to walk around the rectangle, but we do not know this side. We do know this side is 40, but we do not know the measurement of this length. Excuse me, the width. So we need to figure out what x is. This is a problem that we saw that was similar to when we made that trial chart. We had to try out different things because the area has to be equal to 32 square centimeters. And if we add up all the sides, it has to equal to 24 centimeters. So make that little chart that I made before to figure out what the length and the width of this rectangle is. Excellent job tonight. You guys are math stars. I know this was a challenging lesson, but I hope that you tried your best, and that's all I ask for. Have a wonderful night.